All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. We're breaking down Thorsten Meyers' absolute alarm bell of a report from May 2026 regarding the complete collapse of our legacy cybersecurity defense models. Look, if you're on a security team, or really, if you manage digital infrastructure in any way, the ground has completely shifted beneath your feet. We aren't dealing with theoretical, maybe someday AI threats anymore. This is a highly operational reality. The fundamental laws of cybersecurity physics have abruptly changed, and today, we're going to break down exactly what shifted and how you need to adapt.
And we're not just going to sit here and admire the problem. We are going methodically through a strategic playbook to equip your teams for this new era. We'll cover the end of the defender advantage, the collapse of the knowledge floor, the massive shift in trust boundaries, the new rules of engagement, and finally, wrap up with your 18 to 36-month survival strategy.
Okay, part 1, the end of defender advantage. Let's talk about how the timeline has literally collapsed for security teams.
For the last 2 decades, the 90-day responsible disclosure window was our safety net. It gave vendors time to patch, and it gave defenders time to deploy. The whole assumption was that reverse engineering a patch took human experts hours or days, giving us a head start. Well, that assumption is completely broken. As Meyer bluntly points out, it's an attacker's advantage now. Why? Because the second a security patch lands in the Linux kernel today, the commit itself is public. AI systems read that public code diff, ask, hey, does this fix a security issue, and generate a working exploit in minutes. The patch itself is now the disclosure event.
Just think about the standard downstream Linux distribution pipeline. It is now a massive vulnerability window for anyone equipped with AI. When an open source patch lands at step 1, it doesn't just magically appear on your servers, right? It takes days, sometimes weeks, to move through stable, backports, distribution builds, and release cycles before it finally reaches your end users. Meanwhile, the AI processed that mainline commit back on day 1. So for that entire pipeline lag, your systems are just sitting ducks for attackers who already have a weaponized exploit.
Which brings us to part 2, the knowledge floor collapse. We have to fundamentally rethink who the attackers even are today, because the barriers to entry, they're gone.
I mean, check out this text prompt. Please find a security vulnerability in this program. That's it. During an evaluation of Anthropic's Claude Mythos model, that simple sentence allowed engineers with zero formal security training to generate complete, working zero-day exploits. Historically, finding deep vulnerabilities required incredibly specialized, tacit knowledge. You had to understand kernel internals, bypass mitigations, read decompiler output. But now, all that tacit knowledge is baked directly into the training data of frontier AI models. You don't need a specialized setup, you literally just need to ask.
The talent supply curve has completely inverted. We used to live in a world where the old pipeline produced maybe a few hundred senior researchers globally per decade, people who spent 5 to 10 years owning deep kernel expertise. The new pipeline, it gives state actors and amateur hackers alike infinite capability, as long as they have API access. This fundamentally breaks how the security community handles verification, and it puts defenders at a massive structural disadvantage against a vastly expanded pool of automated adversaries.
All right, moving to part 3, the trust boundary shift. We need to look at what these AI systems are actually hunting for, because it's not what we've spent 20 years fortifying.
The harsh reality is that your expensive, legacy defensive tooling is essentially useless against modern AI-driven attacks. For decades, our industry hyper-focused on memory safety bugs, the C and C++ kernel code. We built incredibly mature defenses like ASLR and stack canaries to stop them. But Meyer highlights a critical shift. AI is increasingly targeting trust boundary failures. These are the integration seams. We're talking about OAuth scopes, SaaS to SaaS permissions. It's how different multi-tier systems compose, and honestly, our defenses at this layer are basically a decade behind.
Let's make this totally concrete with the April 2026 Vercel breach. So a Vercel employee installs a third-party AI tool called Context.ai. They casually granted allow all OAuth access to their Google workspace. Later, a Context.ai employee gets hit by info-stealing malware, and the attackers harvest those exact OAuth tokens. The attackers then use those tokens to waltz into the Vercel employee's workspace, pivot directly into their Vercel account, and just read unencrypted environment variables. Boom. A multi-million-dollar breach made entirely of structural design choices at the integration seams. Not a single line of buggy kernel code, just a massive failure to securely manage third-party trust.
And we saw the exact same pattern play out in the massive Canvas breach. Attackers like shiny hunters are using AI to precisely map out and target massive multi-tiered account flaws. In the Canvas incident, they exploited a free tier mechanism meant for teachers, which somehow leaked account-level access into the broader infrastructure. They walked away with 275 million records and defaced portals across hundreds of universities right during final exams. Again, no complex memory corruption, just an AI-driven capability that mapped complex authorization logic and found a path where permissions composed in a disastrous way.
So how do we fight back? Part 4. New rules for defenders. We're pivoting sharply to the operational playbook because adaptation isn't optional anymore. 72. That is your new magic number. The legacy 30-day patch SLA is totally dead. 72 hours is your new, highly aggressive deployment target for kernel security patches if you actually want to beat the AI exploit race. Because like we saw, the window between patch and exploit has slammed shut. If you wait for downstream distribution packages to gently roll into your environment, your vulnerability window is wide open. For major application stacks, you should be targeting 7 days and 14 days for everything else. You absolutely must build the automation infrastructure to support this kind of speed.
And that need for speed directly bleeds into your daily SaaS management. You have to audit your entire OAuth permission landscape immediately. The Vercel breach is your wake-up call. You need to know every single app connected to your corporate identity systems right now. If an employee is using a trendy third-party AI productivity tool, this whole shadow AI trend, that app absolutely cannot have allow all permissions. You need strict least privilege scopes. Your SaaS supply chain isn't just a bunch of helpful tools anymore, it is your Tier 1 security infrastructure. Period. Treat it with the same paranoia you treat your production servers. Which leads us to Part 5, your 18 to 36-month strategy. Let's map out the comprehensive institutional commitment you need to actually stop the bleeding over the long haul. It really boils down to this. You have to be the first to know. To survive this paradigm shift, your organization cannot sit around waiting for external disclosures or vendor patches. You must actively find your own flaws before the automated adversaries do. The marginal cost of running continuous vulnerability discovery internally is dropping to near zero, but the cost of not running it? That's astronomical. Attackers are running AI agents against your infrastructure right now. You need to be doing it too, so you are the very first to know when a trust boundary doesn't compose securely.
So here is your playbook for the next 1.5 to 3 years. Deploying your own internal AI to hunt for trust boundary failures is your ultimate defense mechanism. But you also need automated monitoring of upstream kernel commits. Don't wait on distribution updates. You have to operate under the absolute assumption that your SaaS providers will be breached, so have your credential rotation playbooks ready to fire. Demand policy action to accelerate updates for critical infrastructure. And on a fundamental hygiene level, drop SMS two-factor. It's not secure enough anymore. You need authenticator apps or passkeys implemented universally across the board.
I'm going to leave you with this stark reality to consider as you rethink your defensive posture. Attackers are running AI discovery against your codebase today. Are you? The tools to secure your systems are available right now if you choose to use them. This 18 to 36-month window to build out your infrastructure is open, but what you do during this time determines whether you successfully adapt to this new era or suffer massive structural deterioration. The race is real, the gap is wide, but the path forward is clear. So, what's your next move?